Hey fellas, our fight's just around the corner and the teams have been announced, so it's time to guess what team I picked. Here's a hint. What do runners eat before they race? Nothing. They fast. Sorry, I like to crack myself up sometimes. Hopefully you guessed comedy. Anyways, moving on, I'll be honest, I got halfway through recording the video and the rules changed. So half of what I was going to talk about, at least to an extent, got thrown out the window. All good though, because there are still some things I want to mention. If you haven't been keeping up with the rule changes this year, I want to start off with rule number 5. Or at least what was rule number 5. It's now rule number 10 and it talks about tracing. Before I mention anything else, I just want to say that I don't think tracing is inherently wrong, but there are definitely ways to trace that will help you learn. I also feel the need to say that tracing has always been a no-go on ArtFight. It's not a new rule and hasn't just appeared this year. They just decided to reword everything so rules were more clear for everyone. I'm going to reiterate. You've never been allowed to trace. Point blank, not allowed. And honestly, it's a little bit shocking to see that a lot of people don't read the rules for this kind of thing. In regards to everyone's outrage on TikTok, because yes, it's always TikTok. If you never even bother to try reading the rules, you don't get to criticize them. If you're going to be loud and opinionated on something like this, you need to know what you're talking about. Because TikTok will do what TikTok does best. Take something, run with it, and misinform everyone. They just saw no models, no pictures, you're not allowed to trace. And ran with that. Somehow it even turned into you're not allowed to reference images. Which isn't true. Like, the rules are there for a reason, they're not just there to be pretty. Same thing with the definition page. And yes, there is a definition page for ArtFight. I said this in my original statement before I had to scrap everything, but unless your way of drawing is line for line tracing, which I can guarantee it's not, you're fine. This isn't a rule that applies to you. And for those of you who are wondering, ArtFight's definition of tracing is drawing directly on top of a resource line for line with little to no variation made to the source material. And guidelining is sketching basic shapes and or lines on top of a reference to capture the proportions and underlying image, but does not preserve detail resulting in conscious variation and changes to the source material. Thanks to the second update, it now says you're allowed to trace, with the exception that any work that has line-for-line tracing with no added detail throughout the entire piece will get removed because it's not allowed. Read the rules, read the definitions, follow the rules, and you're all set. If you're worried, I promise you're just overthinking. The second rule I want to talk about is number 9. All art submitted as an attack must clearly display effort and respect the original character's design, form, and permissions. And no, this doesn't mean that a beginner artist has to have the same quality as someone who lives off their art for their attacks. Effort just means that you can tell who the character is, and it's obvious that it took more than 30 seconds to make the attack. And you would think this is a no-brainer, but based off of last year, we need the rule, and people need to read it. I'm only going to mention the one artist because they were the one that stood out the most to me, but the one who was doing ice cream attacks last year. The idea in and of itself isn't bad per se, and a lot of people actually found it funny and endearing. The problem came when they started pumping out attacks and then gained a bunch of points, but you couldn't actually tell who the character was that they were trying to draw. It's the equivalent of saying, here, the stickman is insert character with super levels of detail, lots of jewelry, big hair, you know, all the works. Because in reality, it's not. You can't just strip a character and make them bare bones, and expect the artist who's receiving the attack to be happy about it. In every sense, you're kind of just stripping them of personality. Characters who have drip and pizzazz have it for a reason. And you can make an attack where you're designing something based off of the character. It just has to reflect that character. Though, in a sense, it is harder than if you were to just draw the character. For example, I saw some users who had really creative attacks that weren't in any sense traditional art. Like custom nail sets for a character, jewelry, D&D dice, all of which are really cool in my opinion. But they also take a lot of time and effort and an actual interest in the character instead of just ripping out a drawing. And massive props to those who actually do those kind of attacks. I'm sure the original user was a younger artist, but it does get to a point. Not everyone found it funny, and as time went on, the attacks became less and less associated with the characters. So by the end of Art Fight, their attacks not only got removed, but I'm pretty sure they got banned as well. This wasn't the only incident either, as I saw various artists talk about how their characters were put into mass attacks, but they weren't actually recognizable, with even a few where their character just wasn't in the attack at all. And back to the note about beginner artists or people whose art is quote-unquote bad, it's really disheartening to see users online telling people not to attack them if their art isn't good. The whole event is about gifting art and showing off your characters to others. The entitlement of people online is actually insane sometimes. I truly hope no one has the misfortune of being told their art isn't good enough to participate in the event, or even worse, that their attacks weren't good enough. Like, I'll say 5 years ago my art wasn't anywhere near as good as it is now, but we all start somewhere, and art fights for all levels. Not only am I incredibly grateful for every attack that I've received every year, I also have the biggest grin whenever someone draws my characters. It's an amazing feeling to have someone take interest in your characters and draw them. Piggybacking off of that one, but blatantly disrespecting who you're attacking, be it the user, their permissions, or their characters. For instance, if someone has it in their profile or character permissions not to do something, don't do it. If they don't want to be a part of mass attacks, don't add them. If they don't want to do chain attacks, don't start one. This shouldn't be something that has to even be said, but if people don't want their characters altered in any way, don't alter them. I'm a firm believer that you should always try new things when drawing. You know, it's how you grow as an artist. And it's okay if you don't think you're the best at drawing certain features. But for the love of everything, if you aren't willing to try and draw characters as they should be drawn, don't draw them. There is an abundance of different characters that would be better suited for what you like to draw. So why are you going out of your way to whitewash a character? Or make a character skinny? Or make a very masculine character feminine? And this goes beyond just skin color, body types, or gender. It includes facial features, hair texture, a character's physical abilities, and even attractiveness. Not every character is the pinnacle of beauty, and that's okay. Just don't draw someone's roughed up apocalypse character as a femboy, or someone's muscular girl boss character as a delicate your name. And if that's what you like to draw, I'm not saying don't draw that. There's plenty of characters on Art Fight that would cater to you. It's not cute, and it's definitely not cool to be doing this kind of stuff. And say this does happen to you, and of course, given it's something worth the effort, you can kindly and privately DM them asking if they can edit or change that aspect. But if it's blatant disrespect on the original attack, or after you've sent them a private message, you're more than welcome to just block them and report the user. It's not worth your time, it's not worth your energy, just block them. Again, most of the time people aren't deliberately trying to draw your character wrong. You do have to remember that a lot of people use Art Fight to practice and learn. Not everyone's going to get it right first time they try drawing something. Always be kind and don't let anything ruin your Art Fight experience. On a brighter note though, we're going to move on to my goals, because I have a few this year. After going through my last year video, I realized that I never said what my goals were, so this year I actually have them written down. To start, I'm planning on doing at least 15 attacks, and I want to keep my ratio above 50%. Throughout the years I've been very consistent about this, so I'm hoping it stays that way. This year I also want to do a little bit more furry art, I guess. Other than the Paul McCartney attack I did last year for someone, the only furry attacks I've done have either been characters with animal ears, or actual animals. So I don't think those actually count as furries. It's kind of crazy that this is my 5th year going into Art Fight and I've drawn one furry, if you can even count it as a furry. Not too sure where that lands on the scale. Since losing my access to ZBrush, I've been moving over to Blender and trying to learn how to model and animate there. So because I'm learning, I'm probably going to be doing a simple character, but I want to do at least one 3D model this year. Also, by doing my own personal artworks, I've realized that I'm no good at backgrounds. So that's going to be another thing I do this year. So in total, the goal list is to have 15 attacks, 50% battle ratio, draw some furries, 3D model, and do backgrounds. Or at least improve on these skills. These last two things I was going to add as a goal, but I don't really think these are goal-worthy. But I'm trying to convince my friends to also do art fight with me. Last year I got them to make an account. So this year I'm hoping that they can, do a drawing. We'll see. And lastly, if this is something that would interest people, I might stream some of the attacks I do. Back in the day I used to stream while I drew, and I wouldn't be opposed to getting back into that. What better time than art fight? As always, my art fight username is Turpy. Might be the last year that I use that username. And the link will be in the description. Now I want everyone to put their usernames in the comments and try to find someone to attack. I hope you enjoyed the video, as there are more to come, and I'll see you in the next video.